Although an American stage director of mine did care when I said it the British way. You can't say that, dude. There are kids in the audience.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I just got done doing a reaction from Lost in the Pond called 7 Harmless American Words British Might Find Rude. And he mentioned this one in his video. So this is the one we're doing now. 7 harmless British words that Americans find rude. So backwards to, you know, the video that I just watched. And this is all because I did the reaction to Walter's World video. Let me see here. The Walter's World one was called Weird British Words That Mean Something Totally Different in America. So anyways, there will be a link to the original video in the description section down below. Channel's called Lost in the Pond. Amazing channel. You should check it out. I suggest it highly. And we're going to find out what these British words are that Americans find rude. Will I find it as rude? Or have I heard these words, right? That's going to be the question. Let's do it.
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And one of those memos pertains to words. Specifically, words that are used commonly in one country that might be considered filthy in the other. And before we dive into those, apologies in advance to my mom, my former teachers, and the British Embassy. This is just one of those videos that my subscribers have been asking me to do for ages, so if you're going to blame anybody, blame them. Oh.
Well, I didn't ask you, but you can still blame me.
And if you yourself are not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, here is part 1 of a 2-part series in which I look at words that might make residents of the other country go a little red in the face.
I did part 2 first. Now I'm doing part 1. I'm doing it backwards, guys. I'm a backwards man, I guess. Tidbit.
And the first...
That doesn't seem rude to me. Tidbit is just like a little tidbit of information, like a little small smidgen.
Word that we're pulling out today is titbit. Basically, titbit, which for those of you wondering rhymes with Fitbit, is an alternate...
We pronounce it around here tidbit. So maybe we're pronouncing it wrong, or maybe it's a whole different word entirely. Tidbit. I don't know. I would still think of tidbit as meaning just a small amount of information.
A spelling of what Americans would know as tidbit. And it's funny this because the word tit used to mean small and not what you're thinking of. And on this subject, I often hear British people saying things like, why did America change it? Well, it turns out they didn't. Tidbit is how we used to say it in Britain, and at some point in the past, we substituted a D for a T, which is something that happens commonly.
Okay.
This English language phenomenon in which the letter T is pronounced as a D in the middle of words is known as T-flapping. T-flapping is especially common in American English, where speakers overwhelmingly pronounce butter as butter. However, as part of the gradual Americanization of British English, T-flapping has popped up a lot in recent years in Britain. In fact, the amount of British YouTubers I've heard recently pronouncing the word little as little is ironically large. Also, now that
yeah, I call it little instead of little. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah, I guess I do that all the time.
I've said it out loud a few times, T-flapping definitely belongs on a list of linguistic words that normies would find filthy. I'll be dropping that on my OnlyFans. Anyway, back to the whole titbit versus tidbit thing. Britain did whatever the exact opposite of T-flapping is and settled on titbit. America either didn't get that memo or didn't care. Although an American stage director of mine did care when I said it the British way. You can't say that, dude. There are kids in the audience. Next in line, you may occasionally hear British people from the past say the phrase, keep your pecker up, it's gonna be alright, right? And
I would think there's, okay, that one's definitely new to me. I've never heard that, and if I heard it, I probably would be confused.
that's not some weird foreplay. In fact, really, it's just another way of saying, keep calm and carry on. Except here in America, and broadly in English in general, the word pecker doesn't just mean a bird that does this. It also means a man's third leg. I don't know how to not get demonetized. And so clearly, if I use the phrase keep your pecker up to an American, I might face a lawsuit.
Yeah, normally people around here would say keep your chin up, which would mean the same thing. Keep calm, carry on, just everything's gonna be all right, just keep on going, you know, keep your chin up.
Actually, the same is definitely true of this.
Stroke
In Britain,
the dog.
it is not uncommon for us to say, I stroked the dog. In
Yeah,
fact, I never knew another phrase for this, and you're probably thinking, Lawrence, what does it mean to stroke the dog?
Well, I know what it sounds like it means, and that's certainly not. That's why it's British words Americans might find rude, so yeah.
Well, thankfully, it doesn't mean what you think it means, you weird little... It just means to do this to your animal, across its fur, and make it feel nice. And this is a word difference that I wish I'd known before moving in with my in-laws, who had 3 dogs at the time. And I remember the first time that I said to them, do you mind if I stroke the dog? You could see the cogs turning in their heads, and I don't know what they were thinking, but it was probably along the lines of, what is the phone number to the Department of Homeland Security? Anyway, to stroke the dog is another way of saying the American English phrase, to pet the dog.
Okay. I've
At
heard
some
of
point in the
poppycock. Poppycock is just like, oh, that's poppycock. It's bullshit, or it's, that makes no sense. That's, poppycock.
It was decided that the word poppycock is a word entirely exclusive to Britain, but that
No,
itself
it's not.
is poppycock because the word is widely believed to have originated in the United States.
I don't know about that,
In
but
fact,
sure.
the word meaning utter rubbish or baloney was brought to these shores by Dutch settlers. It is derived from their word poppycock, meaning literally soft dung. So when someone says, what a load of poppycock, the American use of horse is a viable synonym in more ways than one. With that quick disclaimer out of the way, you barely hear the word in America today. However, in Britain,
Yeah,
it
I've heard it.
persists. And so if I were to use this word around Americans, they'd either giggle at me because, well, it contains the word cock, or because it sounds like a quaint British word.
I beg to differ because I've heard the word. It's probably more older generations that would say it, like, oh, that's poppycock. It's not something the younger generation would say, but it's something that most people, I feel like, would know what they're talking about.
Lawrence, go stand in the corner and talk poppycock to me all day, which, as it happens, is something that I'm highly skilled at.
Great
It's not
tit.
enough that we have the word titbit, we have to find other harmless ways of incorporating the word tit into our words and phrases. In this case, the word tit is used in a context that Americans might actually know well. That is tit as in the type of bird. Indeed,
Really?
the United States is home to 5 species of titmouse: the tufted, the black-crested, the oak, the juniper, and the bridal titmouse. Whoever named that last one knew what they were doing. What
Titmouse?
America doesn't
It's a titmouse, but it's a bird?
have is the great tit, unless we're talking about my wife's cousin Chad. The great tit, which is also not a large hill with an igloo on top, is a type of bird found not just throughout Britain, but much of Europe. So laugh at this bird all you want, but just remember this: it can fly. What can you do?
Fair enough. Banger. We use that like something's awesome, like like a musician just dropped a really awesome song. He's like, oh, that's a banger. Or like a good song comes on the radio or something, and somebody's like, oh, that's a banger. Or in Britain, banger is just a sausage, right? Banger's a mash, meaning sausage and mashed potatoes.
The word banger, it can mean so many things, and on either side of the pond. In both Britain and America, I've heard the word banger used to describe an old clunky car. But in
Most of the time, old clunky cars around here, we call them hoopties. I don't know why. It just, hey, that guy's driving a hoopty.
Britain, it has multiple uses. For instance, a banger can also be a very loud firework. It can also be a sausage, and believe it or not, that is not a euphemism. Which probably explains why the odd, sometimes very odd American will ask me, what are the smutty origins of the UK dish bangers and mash? Well, hold your horses, because this has nothing to do with rumpy pumpy. In fact, the word banger in this context is thought to date back to World War I. The story goes that due to supply shortages, sausages had to be prepared with different filler to what is normal. And this, which mostly consisted of water, is said to have caused the sausages to explode. This still feels like a euphemism. And
Rubber.
finally,
Yes, I heard this one in that Walter's World video. Rubber in the UK means pencil eraser, whereas here it means like condom.
rubber. Now, firstly, I should clarify that nobody has a problem talking about rubber, the material. Both countries do that in equal measure. It's when we're talking about what Americans refer to as an eraser that things get dicey. Because while a rubber is what we call this in Britain, that very same phrasing can be used in the United States to mean protective clothing for your third leg. Can we say condom? Now, thankfully, this is not a faux pas that I run into very often, because I haven't used a rubber since 1998. Yes,
have that
the
computer.
stationery. So suffice to say that my heart goes out to all of the British teachers working in America. Being British in America is a weird experience. You encounter a lot of cultural differences, and as I've pointed out on this channel many times, this often includes word differences. And sometimes these word differences can leave you embarrassed, such as the words on this list, but also filthy place names like Intercourse, Pennsylvania, or Spittle in the Street, Lincolnshire. Therefore, when visiting the other country, it's important to be mindful about the words you use. Or don't, and see what happens. Coming soon is part 2 in this series, in which I look at American words that the British might find a little bit rude. To
I already did part 2, so go check that out.
whet your appetite for that, why not check out this video looking at American English words that are catching on in Britain?
Okay, well, maybe I will, Lawrence. Maybe I will, actually. That's a good idea for a reaction. I'm going to right-click that and open a link, a new tab. All right, so does anybody have anything to add to that? Right? Any comments, anything like that? That'd be nice. Share them down below. Let everybody know what that's all about. And thanks for watching. Couldn't do it without you. If you wanted to hit like, that would be awesome. If you wanted to, again, drop a comment, that would be awesome as well. And if you want to hit subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free, and it just helps this video reach more people and helps me get closer to that 100,000 subscriber goal, so I can get that nice shiny, I can't even talk. The shiny silver YouTube play button would be great. I don't accomplish much in my life, so like that's a goal that I'm actually working towards. I'm actually like over a third of the way there. So anyways, you guys have a super fun, awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, bye.